everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today because we are here to gush about movies that were better than we expected. And you say the secret to happiness in life is low expectations. And so all of these movies benefited from low expectations. But it is a fun thing when that happens, when for whatever reason you aren't expecting something to be good and it ends up being better than you expected. And in this list, not everything on this list is like a masterpiece that I love, but it was something like there's two things happening here. There's some on my list that are movies that I thought would be good and were great masterpieces. And then I have ones that I thought would be total trash and were like, oh, that was a pretty good movie, you know? So like, I think both things can kind of be happening here. And it's going to be fun to talk about. I'm film critic Grace Wagner, and Terry's here.
Hi.
Yeah.
I thought my list is most movies I thought would be trash.
Would you say that this list was better than you expected?
Yes, because I thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to be hard for me, but then I just started really thinking, and it just like came to me, and I was like, all right, it wasn't as hard as I made it out to be. Because at first when you're like, this one, and I was like, no, I don't know, you know? I'm not the greatest at picking these out, but yeah. So, I mean, obviously some people might listen to this and go, I'm sorry, what are they talking about? You know, but because it's all subjective. But to me, I essentially went with movies that I thought, well, there's one that I thought was going to be okay, but I ended up loving it. But most of these movies I went in thinking it's going to be hot trash, you know, dumpster fires, and then had a pretty decent time with.
Yeah. I mean, I have a pretty good mix actually of, and a lot of these are actually for me are family films. I think that family films, the marketing can be the most tricky, you know, that like because they're trying to appeal to kids, of course. And so they can highlight the most kid-friendly aspects of the film, which makes sense, but sometimes will undersell it to me, an adult, you know, and then I watch it and I'm like, oh, that was really clever and funny and elevated beyond what the trailer said. So yeah, I have a pretty good mixture actually of movies that I thought were going to be trash and ended up being good, and movies that I thought would be like okay and ended up like loving. So it's going to be fun. But let's dive in. Let's talk about it. And we should say that this was one of the selections in our Patreon polls that we do every month. And now this is our third episode that we recorded from a patron selected poll. And so if you want to be part of these polls and select episodes, we do this every month. We have a poll, and you don't even have to be a paid patron. You can be a free patron, and you still can vote in the polls. So make sure that you follow the link in the description to check out the Patreon. It's the biggest way you can support everything that we're doing, and you get to be part of the polls. Plus, you get to be part of bonus episodes, extra episodes, early episodes. You get to be part of our watch-alongs and Q&As with talent, and our Facebook group. I try so hard to make it worth the investment to be a member of the Patreon. So please take a look at that.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hearty, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
But let's dive in. Let's talk about our number 15. What do you have?
I have Disney's the live action Little Mermaid remake.
Yeah, I have that on my list.
I was just shooketh. I was so surprised because the trailers just didn't do anything to me. I just remember saying, this is going to be a dark mess. You're not going to be able to see anything. I dragged my niece along with it, and my niece is sitting there eating popcorn, looking at me like, this better be good. But she ended up loving it, and I ended up really enjoying it because I just didn't expect it to be entertaining like it was. I mean, it's not the perfect movie, but they did take a chance in making it different than the animated movie, so I gave it, bonus points for that. It's not a carbon copy. But I liked the cast, and they did something with it, and I liked how they expanded Eric's role. Definitely ended on a possible, sequel, which we're probably never going to see. But I don't know. I enjoyed it, and
yeah, I agree. The trailers were trash. They were horrible. Mm-hmm. And like the interesting thing is most of the stuff that I was worried would be bad, because I love the animated film. It's one of my favorites. But most of the stuff that I was worried would be bad was bad. Like the undersea visuals look terrible. Most of the changes they made to like Poor Unfortunate Souls was stupid. A lot of those things were bad, but she was so good.
Yeah, I agree.
And had such a beautiful voice, and they had such good chemistry.
They did.
And I loved the fact that they highlighted the fact that they were both like collectors, and they were both like quirky in the same way. They made sense as a couple, and his song was good, and he was just so swoony, in my opinion. And I think they should have sold this movie as basically a rom-com, because it was what it was.
Yeah, they should have got, they could have got, totally. But yeah, I couldn't, like, I sat there amazed. I was like, well, this is not as bad.
Yeah.
That almost happened to me with the new Snow White. Because I was 20 minutes into that movie, right? And I'm like, this isn't as bad as everybody is saying it is. And then that movie took a turn, and I was like, oh, wait, it is. But I would say this is the more successful of the live, nothing, I don't know. It's hard because these live adaptations are just such a mixed bag. But their chemistry is so great. They expanded on Eric, giving him his own little backstory.
Yeah, it would definitely be up there for me in these live action remakes. And it looked absolutely terrible going into it. And it was. But
I loved Melissa McCarthy too in it. I thought she was fun. But we need to stop with the raps and songs or whatever they were doing there.
Oh, the scuttlebutt,
because I was like, stop it. I know that's automatically I knew that was what.
That's what, like Lin-Manuel.
Yes, automatically it is. Lin-Manuel
is bottomed out with Scuttlebutt, and now it's only up from here.
Gosh, it's true. It's so true. But there were choices, but I would watch this over Snow White, any of those Maleficent movies, many of the recent live actions I would watch, and I would recommend The Little Mermaid over a whole bunch of those.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I have a 15. Was a movie that I think the trailers made it look pretty good, but I didn't expect it to be maybe the best live action comedy of the last couple decades. I have Game Night at number 15. I thought this movie was so funny. It consistently throughout. It was hilarious, and it just is. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. The jokes just land, in my opinion, and who can't relate to so many of this? It's obviously taken to an extreme level, but just the couple dynamics and the way that I don't know.
I've never seen this movie.
Oh, okay.
But I did. The only thing I've seen of this movie is the clip of the plane where the guy gets sucked into the plane, the propeller.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, "Yay! Oh no!" And that made me laugh. So yeah.
Oh wait, I mean everything that happens with this dog is unbelievable. And Jesse Plemons is really, really good in it, and it's just an all timer. And I did not see that coming. I did not think it was going to be one of the best comedies ever, and I would put it on that level. I really would. So, what do you have at 14?
I have Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar.
Good choice.
This movie, when I first saw the trailers, I was like, this is not the type of comedy I enjoy. This is going to be hot trash. But I don't know. It ended up being it was just what I needed during COVID, sitting at home watching it. And I was like, this movie is actually charming. I don't think the trailers do a good job selling it. And I was so amused by it. And there's a musical number, Jamie Dornan singing on the beach there. I mean, it's ridiculous. They go over the top, but it was...
That's a good call. I think maybe comedies are really hard to sell in the trailers and the promotion, like you just have to see them. And it's like, oh, yeah, the jokes work, because like that's the tricky thing with comedies is like so often the exact same elements don't work, depending on the chemistry and the timing and the writing but you have the same basic elements and they don't work, and then they do work, and it's just it's like most things, it comes down to the writing. But I don't know. I think comedy is the most sort of tricky to pull off. It's really hard.
Yeah,
really
it's hard. For sure. And this is it's like the type of comedy that isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
But it was a great friendship movie too.
Yeah.
But when Andy Garcia comes out of the jungle in that movie, I was like, this is what I needed too. Like,
yeah.
So there's so many moments I can't explain to it. It is so bizarre, but yet so entertaining.
Yeah. Well, my number 14 is a movie that I wasn't as skeptical as a lot of people were, but it still was way better than I was expecting, was the Lego Movie. And
I had that on my list too. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't as like, oh, it's a toy movie, it's a commercial or whatever. Because I just thought these are building blocks literally that then they can work to tell a story. But the fact that they went all that live action segment with the father who has been President Business in the story, been the villain in this boy's world. He's the villain. And then they have this moment of connecting over the Legos, like was so beautiful and powerful. And I was
that was a surprise. Yeah.
I was not expecting that kind of like emotional heft from the Lego Movie of all things. And then for it to be so visually inventive, beautifully animated, and to then also be so funny. I mean, whenever they have Batman in is hilarious. Oh when gosh, they have the way that they have like Green Lantern, it's like always like the annoying tag, like you won't go away.
So true.
Yeah, just really funny. The portrayal of Joker's funny, like just all of it is great. And I just was not expecting to be like emotionally moved by the Lego Movie.
I thought it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. And shoot, like Legos are made to be played with because there's so many people who get the collector sets. Like I'll never forget. We bought my nephew was really into Legos when he was little. And we got that giant Jurassic World set for him for one Christmas. And my sister and him spent hours putting it together, and it's done. And he plays with it for a bit. And like the very next day, he takes it apart and builds his own stuff. And my sister was like, but I spent hours building that. Like, there's you can feel that where Will Ferrell is like, no, don't pull it apart. Do you know how long it took to put together?
Yeah.
So there is that. No, it's a toy. It's meant to be, played with, but yeah, I could relate to that.
Yeah, for
to
sure.
That whole aspect.
I think anybody can. That's what makes it so special. It's really wonderful.
It has no business being that good.
No, it doesn't.
And even after that, the spin-off, the Batman movie was good. And
then the sequel. I didn't mind the sequel. It's not as good as the first.
No, I didn't mind the sequel either.
13, I actually have Legally Blonde at 13. I was still in my sort of like cynical about anything that I saw as sort of girly, at that age in my life, that I was still that sort of, I was in that phase of college where I was sort of thinking, like things that are girly aren't cool or feminist or empowered or whatever. And I was also taking the LSAT prep at the time. I was thinking I was going to go to law school. I didn't end up going, thank goodness. But anyway, I remember seeing the trailers, hearing about it, and being like, that looks really stupid. Me too. That looks terrible.
It was fun though.
And then I went and saw it, and I loved it so much. I thought it was so funny, and then now I like the musical even more. I love Legally Blonde, the musical. The songs are so good. It's so funny. It's got such heart and soul, and I just love the musical. And so I actually I've seen the musical many times, but then I just saw the original movie on the big screen a couple weeks ago, and it's like, that's just a charming movie, and it's still funny, in my opinion. So like, I think you hear the premise, you see the trailer, and you think, oh, that's not going to be very good. But in my opinion, it is really good, and it's got great supporting cast with Jennifer Coolidge is hilarious, and like parts that have just become iconic, like the bend and snap, and things like that.
I know, but we don't need a Legally Blonde 3. We don't need that, and I don't know how to feel about this prequel show, but
yeah, I agree. I've never even seen this sequel.
I have, and
actually two sequels. The Legally Blondes. There's 2 sequels.
Oh,
I haven't seen either of them.
I did not know Legally Blondes existed. I know Legally Blonde 2, which I have seen, which wasn't as good.
No,
but
and I just, like I said, if you get it, because there is a pro shot of the musical that they did for MTV. You can look it up on YouTube. It's really good, really great musical. If they decided to do, like they've been doing the musical versions of movies, like they did with Mean Girls and stuff like that, if they did that with Legally Blonde, you wouldn't hear a complaint from me.
But would they sell it as a musical? Because I think that's what hurt.
Yeah, no, that's true. Even the Wicked for Good trailer, it didn't have any singing. I was just like, what? It had background songs, but no actual.
The same thing they did for the first Wicked movie too.
But you would think for the second one that everybody you would think that they like bonkers. That was so crazy to me. Unbelievable.
I know. But I actually have to do my 13.
Oh yeah. So what's your 13?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, they're just going to let anybody make movies, right?
Yeah.
I was very snooty toward that. And then I watched it, and I sat there, I was like, I don't know what I watched, but I love this.
Yeah.
Because it is just so bizarre and so out. I mean, bizarre because it's like, people don't act that way, but it ended up being so charming. And Napoleon is so likable, and you're rooting for him, and it had a good cast, and very meme-worthy moments, like the vote for Pedro and the dancing. It's fun. I love this movie. I love to rewatch it every couple of years.
Yeah. It's got such heart. Like Napoleon, he has every reason to be cynical and bitter about, like, things are kind of sad for him if you think about it. The only person he has to care for him is his grandma, who ends up being in the hospital, and nothing really goes his way. But he's like a very optimistic character and gets joy out of little things in life.
Oh, and his brother, like, don't get mad at me because I have a girlfriend. And I was like, that girlfriend ain't real. And then she turns out to be real, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I had a little bit different experience with this movie than most because it was obviously like super huge here in like
Utah. It was filmed in Utah,
like Utah,
right? Yeah.
Idaho area, very, very popular. But it came out while I was on my mission for my church. And so I heard it hyped. And so I didn't have a better than expected because like it was sort of, but it lived up to the hype for me.
Yeah.
Like it was as funny as people said. It was as, so I didn't have a better than expected, but I had as good as expected.
Yeah. But like, this came out of nowhere for me. What a joy.
Yeah. Well, what do you have at 12?
Okay, this is where people are gonna be like, Terry, what's wrong with you, girl? But I almost put the entire trilogy up as a cheat. But for my number 12 is Olympus Has Fallen. Now,
okay,
no lie, I love me a Gerard Butler action movie, and they vary. And I love this trilogy, but like when you watch the trailer and stuff, you're like, oh, this is just going to be a generic action movie. And maybe it is. Mm-hmm. No, it is generic, but like...
Especially because that year, there
was two of them,
White House attack movies.
Right, which I did not... Yeah, I didn't really like White House Has Fallen. They were competing with each other. It's true, but I don't know. There was something about this movie, and I guess he sold it with his... very questionable American accent, but I don't care. I get it. It's great. The last movie is probably the best out of the three, but it's just, it was something that I needed at that moment because I love action movies, and it's generic, but like at the moment I was like the audacity, and I was like, why is this movie so violent? And I don't know. I ended up just loving it. I just thought it was going to be dumb, and it came out of left field for me, and I was like, take my money, I'll go see this twice. I just had a good time with just the action. The whole thing about them, the missiles and stuff, with the White House is so, I mean, it could happen, maybe not to that extent, but it was so brazen in what it did,
I get it. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Well, my number 12 is, I think that the pandemic is a very interesting time because so many things were delayed. So it created this expectation, that's because certain movies, you just saw trailers and trailers and trailers for years, like it just was an interesting time capsule of this whole topic, I think. Yeah. So my next two are both pandemic movies that you almost couldn't help but gain an expectation for. But Top Gun Maverick. I
had this on my list. Yeah,
I thought that it would be fine. Again, I did not think it would be one of the best. I don't know what you call this.
And this movie has no business being this good, especially because I didn't think it on the shelf for 2 years too.
Yeah, I didn't think that it would make me cry. That Val Kilmer scene, I didn't think that it would be as make me want to cheer, be so entertaining, be so fun, be so heartwarming. Like just I have a hard time really understanding anybody that doesn't like this movie. Like I don't know. I mean, I know I agree. Sure there's out there, but it is just entertaining. Like it's an entertaining film.
Yeah, I can't believe it because what's so funny is that when this movie came out. It was like it was made the same time that the first Sonic movie came out, and then it sat on the shelf because Tom Cruise in his ego or whatever. And you know what? I'll give it to him. He was right about this.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't even his ego. It was that
he was right about
in theaters.
I don't give Tom Cruise credit for anything, but I'll give him credit for this particular one choice because Sonic the Hedgehog, the second movie was already coming out, and I was like, this movie has sat so long on the shelf that they made a sequel to Sonic, and it was made at the same time, which that made me chuckle.
Although I could actually have Sonic on this list now that I think about it.
That just popped into my mind.
A lot better than I expected. Yeah. But yeah, this, I mean, I thought it would be fine, but it was an all-timer, and that was definitely a surprise.
Like, I have this higher on my list, and I wasn't really looking, I mean, I was curious to see it, but I wasn't expecting anything because I don't have the nostalgic love for the Top Gun, that movie was always on television when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've seen it countless times, and then I spent years not watching it, and I watched it again before I saw Top Gun Maverick, but I never loved it as much as other people loved it. The OG Top Gun has an excellent soundtrack, though, and that's the most memorable thing from the movie for me. So I went in very low expectations for Top Gun 2, and then I just walked out of there going, I think I just saw the best movie of the year. And I was like, and this is like, I couldn't, it had no business being that good, you know? And it had like, okay, so the plot is questionable. I was like, I don't care. I'll watch these kids train all the time. And obviously it looks fantastic because they really had people out there flying those planes. None of that was computer generated or CGI. Obviously there is CGI in the movie, but like those moments, there are really people in the cockpits, you know, they're really doing those maneuvers, you know, in some of those scenes. So that gave it a more authentic, thrilling. It was. And I was like, and listen, if they ever make Top Gun 3, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. What do you have next?
So for my 11, because we're at 11, this is another one where people go, Terry, I have Taken, the first Taken with Liam Neeson. Now, another action movie. When I first saw the trailers, I was like, get out of town with this cast. I was like, what is Liam? So funny because this started the era of Liam Neeson in action movies. And I was like, what is this dramatic, really great actor doing in this movie? He might be a little too old for it, long in the tooth at this point. And this movie had no business being as good as it did as well, and I was so entertained. I think it took a lot of people by surprise, and just like the whole phone call, like I will find you and I will kill you. Yeah, that lives on in infamy.
Set of skills.
And, I have a set of skills, and like Liam Neeson was just so good, and it was just so primed at the moment for this role. And I don't know. You can skip 2 and 3, especially 3. Skip 3, because I forgive 2. Just like forget 3 exists and just watch the OG Taken and have a good time. And a lot of the action movies he's done since then have been versions of Taken. But
Well, my number 11 is a movie that I was another pandemic movie that I saw the trailers for over and over again, and I thought this looks like absolutely terrible. I've not been a big fan of the Despicable Me franchise in general. They're just not my style. But I think that Minions: The Rise of Gru is the best one. Crazy take, but just alone, I agree. For that scene with the Minions flying the plane, that is absolutely hilarious. That is, in my opinion, peak Minions. And I think that the Minions are the best, in my opinion, when they are mining the tradition of the silent comedy.
Yes.
When they're basically Buster Keaton in animated form. That is when I think that they work the best. When they're like this last one, Despicable Me 4, that one, no good. That one was not good. And
I liked it. It's not the best out of them, but
the only scene that I liked in the Despicable Me 4, because it went off on all these tangents and all these like it was bizarre. But the scene that I liked the most was that scene with the Minion and the vending machine.
Oh yes.
That was funny. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, when I think that they are tapping into sort of silent comedy, that's when I think it works the best. And this one did that the best, in my opinion. And I mean, I hated the first Minions movie. I thought it was totally terrible, gross, awful. I didn't like it. But this one I thought I thought it was really good. I thought it was really funny. And that plane scene is great.
Yeah. See, my brother loves this series, and I think it's because I wasn't that over the moon about the first Despicable Me movie, but when I tell you that my niece and nephew watched 1 and 2 every single day of their lives,
no question.
I mean, that our family has become obsessed, and when Despicable Me 4 came out, like my brother's like, we're all going, and I was like, these kids are too old now, you know. And they went along, even my nephew, he was like 15, like, I'll go. And I was like, I can't believe they still go. It's become a family event for us to go watch these movies together. A sort of nostalgic feel. But I agree that the Minions 2 is probably the best out of the bunch. But the plane scene is great because Peanuts, and it gives a 1. And that's very much reminded me of my niece when she was little. Mm-hmm. Can I have a potato chip? She would give you 1. Here you go. And so that whole Peanut scene, my brother constantly plays because he's like, that's my baby,
Yeah. I'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the good folks over at BetterHelp. It's summer, things are super busy, and it can be easy to forget about our health. And one aspect of our health is our mental health. And I know in my late 20s, I particularly went through a tough time where I really did need the help of a therapist. And that's something that you get with BetterHelp. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching people with the right therapist from their diverse network of more than 30,000 licensed therapists with a wide range of specialties. It's fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. So get the help that you need. Visit betterhelp.com/Hallmarkies to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Hallmarkies. What do you have at 10?
I have the Lego Movie.
Yeah. It was such a surprise. My number 10 is a movie that I was a big swing for a major franchise, and it totally paid off. Is Guardians of the Galaxy is my number 10. I was, when I saw it, even though I was pretty high on the MCU at that point, that was a really great era of the MCU.
Yeah,
but you see to go back to those days. A talking raccoon, you see a tree, you see, it's like, well, what is happening? What is this? Mm-hmm. And it was so funny. It was so charming. It had such a cool visual aesthetic. It looks like remarkably different than the other Marvel movies at that point had looked. And it was just a super fun time and one of the best of the MCU, in my opinion.
Yeah. So
the songs, the soundtrack. It was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite MCU movie at that time, but I was so into it back then too.
Yeah, it was.
But it was definitely different than what we'd seen. It was totally in outer space, And I was like, this is refreshing, and you're taking these characters that a lot of the general public didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And introducing them. And I just think that out of the 3, the first one is the best. I hated 3. I mean,
second is my least favorite, but I get it. I get it's just the third one.
This is why I'm afraid. Because I'll give James Gunn a lot for building that world of the Guardians of the Galaxy and what he did to freshen up sort of and give a new look to the MCU with that movie coming out. But I'm almost afraid because I think they overindulged him in 3. I'm almost afraid what Superman is going to look like because the third movie was just too many songs, needle drops, so many slow motion scenes. I was like, okay, Rocket, get to your location. We don't need you. We don't need a scene of you walking to this location for 10 minutes.
The second one, the twist, I just didn't like with the dad, and I didn't think that was well done.
Yeah, that was not bad though.
Some of the humor. Some of the humor really fell flat, like Days with Hasselhoff joke, and I don't know. It just didn't. The second one's my least favorite, but I get it. The third one,
it's just too indulgent in that. I'm like, okay, get. We don't need the slow motion for 10 minutes walking, and I'm guarantee you that's gonna a lot be in. But anyway, I agree with you.
But this first one was.
It's very
better than anybody expected,
and it still holds up too. Yeah, because not all those movies hold up. We're 20. We're over 20 years in, right, to the MCU. Mm-hmm. So not all of them hold up, but that one
almost. They started in 2008.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Ooh, gosh. So, all right. What's your number 9?
I have Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah, good choice.
I waited till the last possible moment to see this movie. The last week it was in my cinema. I was like, none of these dungeons.
It's your fault it bombed.
Yeah, it totally. I wish I had seen it sooner. Because I was like, none of these Dungeon and Dragon movies are as good. And in my mind, hadn't really ever played the game, but the 1980s cartoon lives on for me in my mind. Of Dungeons and Dragons, and I was always disappointed with all these movies adaptations that they made, and so I didn't have high hopes because the trailer wasn't that great. And when I started watching this movie, I was like, this movie has no business being this good, and I had such an enjoyable time. And I think what I love the most about this movie, because there's a lot of CGI in this movie, there's a lot of stuff, but there's also a lot of practical effects. But we are outside and it is real. That's a real tree. That's really grass. And a lot of these fantasy movies are just, they don't feel real. They're inside and they're in front of like the green screen. They're in the void, Yeah. There's no, that reality isn't real. And I think one of the good things about this latest iteration of Dungeons and Dragons was that it felt real. This world felt real to me. While still having a lot of CGI and special effects, there was also a lot of like practical and real stuff to like balance it out. And I'm kind of sad and bummed because I would have loved seeing another take on this. I don't know why it's so hard to get people to do, to watch these Dungeon and Dragon.
Yeah, it's a shame. Projects. I think it's as close as we've gotten to the Princess Bride.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, is except for maybe the first Pirates movie. I think those are the two, that have gotten that energy closest in the last. So it was a shame that it didn't do better. My number 9 is actually Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time.
Oh, yes.
I really don't like most of these cheapquels that they made direct to DVD. Most of them are trash. A lot of them are actually television shows that they package together into a movie.
Like the Lilo and Stitch ones, yeah.
Lilo and those ones are watchable, but like the Tarzan sequel, there's just some really terrible. The Hunchback one is unwatchable. There's just really bad. But this one is actually like pretty good. Like
it is pretty good.
You feel like, okay, people were actually trying. And there's a whole episode of Talking Disney Classics podcast that I do. We did it on this, and I have some really interesting quotes from the director, and that like he basically was like, I've been assigned to make this movie, and I'm gonna make it. I'm going to defy odds. Like he was really trying, and you feel it. You feel like, okay, this is somebody that was trying to tell a story, and it's unique, and it has a pretty good animation, and it was way better than Cinderella 2. Like they're not even in the same conversation. And in Cinderella 2, that would be also an anthology, the combining together of episodes.
Yeah.
This is a good one. And
got time travel and everything. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It's way better.
I'd recommend this one and the Lion King sequels, which were better than I expected. If you're going to watch these straight to, at the time it was straight to DVD, straight to video.
Yeah. I think if I had to pick, I would pick Lion King 1.5.
Oh, totally.
It's just the satire of it all.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. But both of them are solid. They're watchable.
I agree. That's a great pick, Rachel. Yeah. Great pick.
What would you have at 8?
I have the 1999 version of The Mummy. What a delightful surprise!
I didn't think of that, but that's
because
a good one.
Watching the trailers, you were like, "Oh boy, this is gonna be a hot mess." Yeah. But like a hot mess, I wanted to see, and I saw, and even my mother liked it. Because we saw it with my mother, even she liked it. So much so that she was the one who said, we're going to go see the sequel, right? And so we knew that my mom really liked it, but I just expected very little. I was like, oh, look at what they're trying to make The Mummy into an action movie. And they made it period. I don't know. It was just so much fun. And it was so refreshing at the time because a lot of these type of movies, in the 90s weren't great. But I don't know. It was the perfect cast, the perfect moment in time to watch an adventure, movie like that. And it's a good, if you like the classic monsters, with The Mummy, it was just, I don't know. It was so much.
That's a good call. That's a good one. Yeah. My number 8 is where I have the Little Mermaid remake.
Yeah.
Way better than expected. Like we already talked about. Yeah. Perfect for this list.
Yeah.
What do you have at 7?
I have a movie that makes me very angry at 7. Angry because I liked it, Rachel, because I didn't want to. But I have A Haunting in Venice, which was the last Kenneth Branagh Poirot adaptation that he made. I am not a fan of his takes of Murder on the Orient Express. I liked Death on the Nile better, but there's other versions that are so much better of those two stories. So, of course I was giving him another chance, another go, because he said, I'm going to go, to a lesser known Poirot story and go from there. And I was like, yes, there's so many, like Dead Man's Folly, Sad Cypress, Elephants Can Remember. I was excited. Yeah. And then it came out, he goes, I'm doing A Haunting in Venice. And I was like, what is that? To only find out it's based on a Halloween party. Rachel, nothing in this movie is Halloween party. They have some names and some connection.
I heard that it's like,
no, it is nothing of the book. I love Halloween Party, the book. It's great, and they did make a TV movie because David Suchet played Poirot very famously on TV, and he actually did all the stories. And even that one goes a little off the rails and not really matching the Halloween Party, because the book is a lot of fun. It's easy breezy read. But I think this was the best out of his Poirot movies. His mustache is the most believable in this one. Throw away all that nonsense he did in the other two, and just the way he condensed it and made it like almost like a haunting movie. It was just, all the changes he made were great to this, and I was angry that he didn't do this earlier, and but it's actually a lot of fun. Don't go into it wanting to see something faithful to Agatha Christie, but his choices were the right choices.
He still had a little bit too much of
mustache.
Well, he still had a little too much of, I'm going to explain everything that happens to you, instead of, like, I prefer mystery that's like building up the clues so that I'm following along with the detective, so that I don't need a big info dump at the end. But that's not Agatha Christie style. I get it. And whatever.
I could say,
I
you're
see
right.
it. I get it. And it definitely leaned into the horror elements.
That's what I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I get it. And
I was like, what? And I'm also angry at myself over it. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, my number 7 is a movie that I thought it would be fine, but I didn't expect it to be one of an all-timer. So this is in that group. It's Babe, is my number 7. I absolutely love this movie. I just reviewed it for Muppet May. And so I just saw it again. And what a funny, heartwarming.
I haven't seen it in years.
Sweet, just beautiful little movie. When Farmer Hoggett, when he dances for Babe and trying to cheer him up, that's an all-timer movie scene, in my opinion. Totally. Just absolutely.
So worth that Oscar nomination he got to.
Absolutely. And it got nominated for 7 Oscars, including Best
Picture. It is a delightful movie. I had forgotten about that one.
Absolutely wonderful. And one of it would be definitely in my list of top 10 family films ever for me. If I, would be right up there with, The Wizard of Oz and another one that I have coming up, and really Mary Poppins, things like that. It would be in that discussion for me. I love it. And I was definitely not expecting it to be that good.
I agree.
Yeah. So what do you have at 6?
I have the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
I have that at 5.
Yeah, so it's just what a surprise this movie was. And I'll never forget too, because when we went to go see it at the theater, my mother and I, we had all ridden this ride in Disneyland. So my mother's like, "Oh, they kept the dog with the like." She pointed out all the moments of the ride because she loved that ride, that and the Haunted Mansion. She loved those Disney rides. Not the Indiana Jones ones that we forced that she said she was going to murder us after that ride. But I don't know. This was so charming. I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like, this can't be good. And, the first Haunted Mansion had already come out, or no? Or was that because this one made so much money? I can't remember.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I don't know if this inspired the theme park movies, but what a surprise this movie is. Johnny Depp, regardless of how you feel about Johnny Depp now, he did something.
So it came out the same year.
Oh, came out the same year. Okay.
They both came out in 2003.
Yeah. So,
especially, he was nominated for an Oscar.
He was nominated, but I mean, regardless of how you feel, because people have feelings about him now, but regardless of he was so right in the weird bonkers decisions he made for this character.
And
he
even
was
that entrance, it might be the most iconic entrance of a character
totally
ever. Like him coming up on that boat. It's so great.
I mean, you know, and it just
I can't imagine anybody not liking this film. I mean, it just has a little bit of everything. It's got romance.
I can understand
action. It's got humor. It's got. I mean, just what more do you want?
I understand how people could feel about the sequels. I love this franchise, even the bad parts, even the not so great entries. I have them all on Blu-ray. I cherish them. But this first movie is just like, who would it? Yeah, especially because pirate movies weren't in fad at that moment in time. They weren't. The last couple ones were not good that they tried to come out with, and it was really like an antiquated sort of trope of the movie. It had probably
been since Princess Bride that there had been a good pirate movie.
Yes, I mean, I did see. Oh, this is the greatest story. One thing I should tell. I did see Cutthroat Island. That was not a great pirate movie.
No,
I never saw the last 20 minutes of that movie until like a decade later when I saw it on TV because a gang fight broke out in the middle of the theater, and we all had to evacuate it. That's a true story.
Wow.
So it took a decade for me to see the end of Cutthroat Island. It did not help. It was still not a great movie. But that movie was so expensive and so much of a bomb that people said, we're not going to do any more pirate movies. And it kind of felt like an antiquated story because there were so many great pirate movies from the 40s and 50s, you know, and then this.
I guess there's Waterworld, but
even that bombed and people have feelings about that. Yeah. I don't mind it, but you know.
Yeah. I agree.
The best probably theme park movie that Disney has done is the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. They haven't done many theme park adaptations, but it's probably out of the few they've done the best.
They've done too many, but
they've done too many to you.
And I have a whole rank. If anybody's curious, I have a whole ranking of the Disney ride movies.
There's not that many. There's what? 5?
Well, if you include all of the Pirates movies,
5 movies, right, for Pirates. 2.
And then there's Haunted Mansion. There's some more obscure ones like the Country Bears and
that's right. Yeah.
So there's some bonkers ones. But anyway, I'll put a link to that if people want to check it out. My number 6 is where I have Paddington, the first Paddington movie. And the trailer for this is really leaning into the slapsticky elements of it. Like it's showing him clearing out his ears and, you know, the real, like, it just made it like they don't sell like the heart and soul of the movie, which is, you know, what makes it extra special. And him being being inspired by the railroad orphans of the world, you know, the Second World War, and him being taken in by the family and loved, and like none of that. You don't get any idea that it's going to have that kind of heart to it. You think it's just going to be like a silly kids movie, and so I didn't think I would hate it, but I didn't think it didn't look great. And so the fact that it and then of course the sequel ended up being 2 of the finest family films ever made, really, and I enjoyed the third one. It's not on that level, but it's pretty fun. So I did not see that coming of how good it would be.
Confession time. I've never seen a Paddington movie.
Oh,
I know. No. It is a secret shame, and I'm admitting it here now. So judge me. I deserve it.
You should see it.
I'm waiting to really I think this summer I want to marathon all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I want to watch because I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. And I loved the Paddington cartoon that I grew up watching in the 80s.
Really good.
So I know I'm going to love these movies.
So yeah, so he shows up. He shows up at the train station, and he has the tag like they would, like the
Yeah.
I forget what those children were called in World War II with the orphans. And then the family find him and they take him home and they take care of him. And so it just gives this like,
but it's set in modern day, right?
It's set in modern day. Okay. I'm saying he's inspired by that. Okay. And
yeah, I have to watch these movies. I know. And this one took a lot. I know. I remember it, just how it was surprised everybody was like, because nobody believed the Paddington movie would be that good.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
What do you have at 5?
Galaxy Quest.
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean, this movie, like you watch it and I was like, okay, I get it. They're making fun of us Star Trek fans or whatever. But what heart this movie ended up having, and it took such a unique premise.
And usually those kind of parodies are terrible.
And this was just, it was fun. It's like, okay, these actors are famous because they did this beloved sci-fi show. And they hate it. They hate doing, but they don't have much of a career. They're doing the conventions. They're like, I'm so sick of it. And then they get kidnapped by aliens who think that they were watching a documentary, like real life stuff. And you're like, you gotta help us. And they're like, pardon me. And it's great. I loved it. It was fun with the premise that they had. And I always wish that they had made a sequel to it, but I'm also glad they didn't, because I think this movie just stands out really well on its own. And it didn't need a sequel, but it would have been fun to have seen more.
Yeah. I agree. My number 5 is where I have Pirates, the first one. It was just so entertaining. Good. So good. Yeah.
And it's like filmed on actual like boats on the ocean.
Yeah.
It
has, like I said, I can't imagine it's got it all. It's got everything you could want in a movie. And so, And
the sequels add more and more CGI elements to it. Not that there wasn't CGI elements in this first movie, but it does kind of take away. There's too much going on in the sequels. I will admit that.
This was just long.
Yes, they made them too long. People, stop making long movies. You don't need to. You could be in and out in 90 minutes. Come on.
Yeah. So what do you have at 4?
Okay, this might raise some eyebrows for people, but I put Godzilla -1.
Oh. Good choice.
Yes. I know, it's weird to put a Godzilla movie, but I love Godzilla. And I'm not even talking about the American, whatever they do in American-wise, with the Godzilla franchise. But I hadn't been really happy with the last couple of Godzilla movies that they'd come out with. So I was like, and I didn't get to see this one in the theater. I was like, it's going to be all right. But the most wonderful thing they did about this movie, and my sister adores this movie too, is that they went back to basics. They made it a period movie. It has so much heart. And a lot of time with these kaiju movies or even these monster movies, the human element, the human story is just a waste. Nobody cares about that. Like if you look at these Godzilla movies, these American Godzilla movies, like who cares about any of those humans? They don't matter. We want to watch Godzilla. We want to watch Kong, right? But the human aspect and story of Godzilla -1 was just so touching. And when that big moment happens and, you believe somebody is dead, or is she dead or not? Yeah. I mean, like my sister and I screamed, no, like we were so invested in the human tale, as well as just seeing what Godzilla wrecking stuff, but also, and I know they worked a lot of hours and super hard, but like what they did with the way Godzilla looked and the special effects. I mean, this movie's great. This movie's great. If you've never seen a Godzilla movie, I would say watch this one. Get whet your appetite, and go in with this one. But yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good pick. Very good pick. My number 4 is proof that just because something has a messy production history does not mean it's going to be bad, and you can't trust necessarily trailers. It's The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, yes.
When that came out, I was in college and I was like, I am not seeing the Disney movie where he turns into a llama. Like, what is that? It sounds terrible. And I heard about the messy production. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be an all-timer bad. It was also a time when it was like we'd seen the best of the Renaissance seemed to be behind them, and it was just not a great time for Disney. And then, believe it or not, so I when I was in college, I did some work for the Lost Boys of Sudan. There were a group of refugees that had come over here, and that was really rewarding. And I actually went to see The Emperor's New Groove with the Lost Boys of Sudan.
Oh my God, that's amazing, Rachel.
With these refugees, because they're just and they loved it. I loved it. They loved it. I loved it. It was hilarious. It's so funny.
It's great.
I think it has the best joke in the history of Disney when she's going in there, wrong lover. And she says, why do we even have a lover?
It's so great.
Joking. And then when she's drinking my voice.
And just, I speak squirrel. Hold on.
This
is a great choice, Rachel.
Whole diner scene is so brilliant.
So awkward and like,
animation is so good. And like when you can tap into that in an animated film, especially, you can tap into that silent comedy energy. I'm probably going to like it. Like it just usually works, I think, pretty well, but it's hard to execute it well. And it's something like The Emperor's New Groove certainly does. And that Kronk, that is an all-timer.
It's so much
vocal performance. Patrick Warburton is so good.
So good at that.
It's really funny.
Oh my gosh. This definitely would go into my top 10 animated Disney.
Yeah. And it looked terrible from the trailer.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a messy production going into this.
Oh yeah, they completely. Sting had written a whole bunch of songs. It was going to be this like epic story about Peru, the Incas.
That makes sense that he would write
written all of these songs, and they all got scrapped. They completely changed. It was originally directed by the guy who directed The Lion King, and then he got ousted. I forget his name. I can't think of it at the moment, but yeah, and then they just completely redid it to be this comedy, and I'm so glad they did.
Yeah, it's
they only
amazing.
Got one of Sting's song in the credits.
But I'm sure Sting got paid for it. He's all right. Survived.
The crazy thing is that just by chance, his wife was making a documentary. I think it was called Kingdom of the Sun. I think it's something like that. His wife was making a documentary of the goings on of the movie, and it's still it's not quite as entertaining as you'd hope it would be. The documentary, it's kind of boring, but still, it's kind of crazy that all of this happens, and his wife was making a documentary of it anyway, and it ends up being this gets completely changed, and it's kind of wild.
I know, because he was so into that at that time. Not he's still into it, but like preserving the rainforest and stuff that we're going. So I could see where Sting would be very passionate with the original idea. I did not know about the new Emperor's New Groove, but it's so great. And this one also has a cheap quill, to it, which is not as good.
Yeah, no, not as good.
But it's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, what do you have at 3?
I have The Lost City. I just thought this is going to be like a cheap knockoff of Romancing the Stone, and it was in a sense, but it is just so great. We don't get enough rom-com adventures, and I was just I left that movie happy because I wasn't expecting anything from it. The trailers didn't move me, but I was very curious to see it. And I'm not the biggest Sandra Bullock fan. And then I just left happy. I was like, I can't believe how great Daniel Radcliffe is in this movie. And it's so absurd.
And Brad Pitt.
And Brad,
hilarious.
Why are you so handsome? Because I'm the weatherman. Because my father was a weatherman. That line is just, it's surprisingly good.
It was.
It had no business being that good. And it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. My number 3 is another of the Disney Toons movies that there was just such a weak studio in general. So I just didn't expect much. And especially when they're making a Goofy movie, I did not expect it to be an all-timer. Like if this was in the Disney canon, I would have it ranked pretty high. Pretty high. If I was including this as in the Disney Renaissance, I would also have it pretty high. Like I might have this movie above Aladdin. That's how good I think it is. I love the story of the father-son dynamic and everything that they learn together. And the songs are so entertaining throughout, not just the Powerline songs. All the songs are so fun, and I think it looks beautiful. If you love a Goofy movie, you should see Not Just a Goof, which is a documentary that came out this year about a Goofy movie, and the underdog production of it all, and how it became kind of a true. There's not that many Disney movies that I would say are cult classics. Because they're a giant corporation. Why would they have cult classics? But this, I think you could make that argument that it's a cult classic because it was from this side studio. It was this, side project, and it just was so loved by so many and so many fans. And I just
that
really
moment
good.
In the movie where
really
good. That movie where they're driving and like Goofy just can't take it, like the tension pulls over and it's like, I gotta take a, he's just walks outside, take a breath, and like he's like, "Oh, Dad, I'm sorry," or whatever. Now this came out after really Goof Troop, right?
In the middle
of Goof Troop, because I think it surpasses anything that Goof Troop did, which I also enjoyed that series. But I think this surpasses. The entirety of that series.
Let me make sure that I'm right on that. Wait. So Goof Troop was only for 2 seasons. I thought it was longer.
That makes sense.
I thought it was longer than that.
No, most of these animated shows.
It was the Goof Troop was from 92 to 94, and this came out in 95. So it was just after.
Yeah, it was just after. Yeah, I think it surpasses the actual Goof Troop.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just way better than it has any right to be. That's for sure.
It's true.
Yeah. It's really good. What do you have at 2?
I have Top Gun Maverick.
Still,
I can't believe it had no business being that good. I'm sorry, it had no business.
Agreed.
But it's great.
Well, my number 2 is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I did not like the trailer. I was not expecting to love it. It's Tangled is my number 2. I went into it because the trailers were really leaning on the Flynn Rider side of it.
Yeah.
And the slapsticky side of it. And so the fact that it was like this charming romantic comedy with like banter, and the villain was so good. Mother Gothel is so good.
Oh, she really is.
It's so entertaining all the way around. Great characters, a really good story, beautiful animation, those lanterns. It was absolutely gorgeous. And it was I was not a big fan of Princess and the Frog. And that was quite disappointing to me. And so I think that was part of it, that I had kind of gotten my expectations high for that, and then it'd been disappointing. And so then when this came out, I was skeptical, and I took my sister, and I just absolutely loved it. And I didn't
like Tangled at first when it came out. I was like, eh. But the more I saw it, like on the second viewing and then on the third viewing, I was like, no, this is actually good.
Yeah.
I kind of changed my mind. And I even liked the cartoon, the animated series that came out years later. It was also fun and good. Yeah. And I was like, it's a good franchise.
I agree. All right. What's your number 1?
John Wick. The first John Wick. So I saw this trailer and I was like, and everybody's like, oh, he takes revenge for his dog. And I was like, oh, come on, guys. Like, really? And then you're watching this movie, and spoilers, but his wife dies of cancer, and you're like, oh, he's going to be a sad sack. And then, he gets that dog. And then what happens from then on is like, as I love action movies, I love when things, I love explosions, and I love when people beat the crap out of each other in action movies. So this had everything I liked. And I was so surprised that it worked so well. It's now, it started a phenomenon, it started a whole universe, and the universe might have gotten a little too bloated. But I still think the original is just more, I hate to say believable, but I mean like more, it's smaller, it's more down to earth, because, each installment gets bigger and bigger. Not that they're bad, because I think John Wick 4 is great, but this one is just, I didn't expect what I saw, and I ended up loving it.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Good pick. My number one is another favorite movie, but also just the biggest experience where I was like not expecting something to be great, and it like completely wowed me. It's Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I've never seen this one.
Oh really?
No.
When I saw the trailer, I was just like, what? Why are they making this movie? And because
I'm like, oh, the Shrek franchise is dead at this point.
Yeah, and the original Puss in Boots was fine.
And they even had a TV show, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
nothing I was particularly special. Like it was not that memorable. The original Puss in Boots. And then I watched it first via a screener DVD for awards, and I had gone through a bunch of them that I was just like, oh, I'm not liking these movies,
right? And
it can be kind of draining. And so then I put on Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and I was just like, okay, let's do this, let's get it over with. And my mouth agape. When you watch it, the first 20 minutes are an extended action sequence that blew my mind. The fast pace of the action, the incredible animation, the unique visual style was so breathtaking. It manages to balance three sets of villains, with ease. It doesn't feel overcrowded. It feels just great. They have this villain that's the wolf, that's Death, is probably the scariest villain that we've seen in an animated film in years. I remember when I finally got to see it in the theaters, there was a little girl that was on the opposite side of the aisle, and she was absolutely like freaking out. Like she was so scared. And I kind of liked to see that, because it's been so long since we had anything that was memorable, or that would, as far as a villain, there's actually like motivation and heart in a way behind this villain, because in the end he's just doing his job. He's Death. He's just doing his job. And it also can be quite funny. The voice acting, I've said for a long time that I thought Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots is one of the best uses of celebrity voice casting ever. Like him and I think the genie, Robin Williams, those are probably the two best ever.
Yeah.
But he's so good for this role. And this was just such a special movie. It is so like much more artistically ambitious.
Yeah. I mean, it looks amazing.
Like they could have just like thrown this movie away. Like they could have just done the bare minimum. There was no reason for them to make one of the most like stunning animated films I've seen in years, but they did, and I really admire that. Like pushing yourself, kind of like with Cinderella 3, like saying, I'm not just going to make something that's mediocre because I can.
Right.
I'm going to push it, and they did, and it was such an exciting moment for me to like, oh my gosh, people in the studios are trying, they're doing something special, and it was so exciting. I loved it so much, and I'm probably now overhyping it for you, but and then
no, I mean it looks great. I think
the dog that thinks it's a cat is adorable, and
I just think I was over the whole Shrek thing.
Yeah,
by
no,
that
I get
time,
that. And that's why I was so like, why are they even making this? And
but it got nominated for an Oscar, right?
It did, and it deserved it. I mean, that was a tough year with the Pinocchio, but
you think the success of this particular movie made them sort of work on the next Shrek movie? Because I'm so curious.
Yeah,
to see what that's going to look like.
It looked a little different.
Yeah, people were like macking on that trailer, and I was like, it's not going to look like the first Shrek movie. We've come a long way since then.
Yeah, plus it's not going to be worse than Shrek 3, which is like unwatchable. It is absolutely terrible.
Is that the one where they there's like Snow White in it, and
it's the one where they have the babies.
Yeah, maybe that was Shrek 4.
Terrible.
Took my godchildren to it, and I was stuck for like a half an hour in the line to go to the bathroom.
Shrek 4 isn't that bad. Like, it's not great, but it's watchable.
Yeah.
It's kind of an It's a Wonderful Life take.
It had to have been Shrek 3.
What if Shrek didn't exist, and he gets like this? It's okay.
I know.
Shrek 4 is okay.
But it's a mixed bag of a series.
But Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is just special, and I just really think the world of them for what they did, and I will always remember sitting in my room watching that screener because it was just a super cool experience, and I loved it so much. So there we go. So I did ask on Twitter what was people's favorites, and so I asked on Twitter what movies that were much better than you expected. My friend Molly Raspberry, she loves Barbara Stanwyck, and she says that she was surprised she liked some of her movies that had low audience score, low Rotten Tomatoes scores, low audience scores. They were better than she expected. Alex Klepp says Transformers 1 is Utopia while you were sleeping. Good call there. I agree with that, because if you just see the premise, it sounds ridiculous, but it in my opinion works really good.
It works
well. That's a great choice. Down with Love. So that's his choice. Gavin Evans, he says Landscape with Invisible Hand, Wonka, Venom: The Last Dance, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Cruella, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, Mortal.
I had that on my short list. Are You There? Yeah, that movie surprised me at how good it was.
Yeah. Alita Battle Angel, Child's Play 2019, and Overlord. And then Christina says Sky High. That's I think a good pick. That's a solid pick. Zootopia, Knives Out, The Lost City. Like you. Crazy Rich Asians, and Pete's Dragon 2016. Very, very good picks. I could also have Mary Poppins Returns on this list. But I was pretty confident with Lin-Manuel and Emily Blunt. But it was better than I even expected. So
I enjoy that. I think he was a little too much in that movie, but
I can see that.
Yeah, because I just remember I saw that movie and I was like, it's better than I expected. I didn't expect it to be that good, but I thought Emily Blunt was very charming, and because Mary Poppins means a lot to me, but people were like, oh, his number is so good in that movie, and I was like, it is not the best musical number in that film, but okay. But there are people who hate Mary Poppins Returns, and I don't understand that. But
yeah, I don't either. So there we go. That is our movies better than expected. Remember, this is from the patron poll. So you want to make sure to sign up for the Patreon. You can do it just as a free member if you want. We appreciate the support so much, but sign up as a free member, then you can vote in the polls, and we have one every month, and you can decide what we're going to be talking about. So it's a lot of fun. This is a great topic that people chose for us. People have been very kind, because I put some more brutal worst of kind of things, and they've
have been very kind with the power.
Very kind, yeah.
Because which one did you put down? Disney live action remakes, and I was like, if I could get down. Rachel, I was like, this is Rachel's nightmare, and I said I couldn't believe she put that down. Because I've been threatening you with that.
I've done it on my channel, but it's not my favorite. But anyway, check out the Patreon for the polls, and Terry, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Flurry Heaven.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really, really appreciate that. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 10K. We're getting so close. Please subscribe if you are listening on YouTube. And like I said, we have the Patreon group, which is so much fun. Please check that out. And the merch store, where we have lots of cool Christmas and holiday and romance and movie themed designs. Check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.